You've got to make this salsa ranchera, have it ready to go in the fridge, then you can crisp up tortillas, make some eggs, throw it over top, and you have Huevos Rancheros. It's one of the simplest Mexican breakfasts you can treat yourself or that special someone. And I've also got a couple of low-calorie alternatives that you can make along the way. So let's break it down, y'all. The classic salsa ranchera recipe I used in this video is from Diana Kennedy's book and consists of just tomatoes, serranos, garlic, white onion, and some salt to taste. You can either cook them from fresh or you can char the tomatoes first. While the fresh version is faster and easier, I like the taste of the charred and broiled version, so let's do both. For the fresh version, small dice 350 grams or about 4 plum tomatoes, finely mince 1 whole serrano, mince 1 whole garlic clove, and then small dice about 1/8 of a white onion. And I like cutting every ingredient quite small so it melts into a smooth but slightly chunky sauce without having to bust out the blender. Speaking of, for the broiled version, cut the tomatoes in half and place them cut side down on the baking sheet with the serrano and garlic clove, and then just dice the onion just like before, but we're going to leave that off of the tray. Then place the sheet pan under the broiler until everything is nice and brown and slightly charred, and interestingly enough, this serrano literally exploded while in the oven. Anyways, remove the really blackened skin parts, and then we're just going to toss everything into the blender and pulse it until it's fairly smooth but a little bit chunky, and now it's the same basic process from here on out. Set a pan over medium heat and add 15 grams or about a tablespoon of oil, and then once hot, add the onion and cook alone for a few minutes until it's translucent, probably about 3 or so minutes. I want those fresher onion flavors with a bit more bite to come through rather than roasted ones. Once done, toss in the fresh tomatoes, garlic, and serrano along with a big sprinkle of salt, and then just cook this down until everything has reduced, probably about 10 or so minutes. Once reduced to your liking, just pour this into a mason jar and you're going to give this sauce a taste. I like to add a bit of lime zest and some lime juice for a bit of brightness, which really rounds it out, and then of course adding a bit more salt as you need it. Then for the charbroiled version, it's the exact same process. You're just going to cook this down a little bit with onion, toss it into the mason jar, and interestingly enough, actually, the charred version is a less spicy one than the fresh one. Just from roasting, you get kind of those caramelization and sweet compounds in there, and it actually makes quite a big difference when you taste them side by side. Now, additionally, you can use these for longer storage by either freezing them or going through a proper canning process so you can store them at room temperature. But this is just a great all-purpose sauce that can be used in countless ways as a topping, or maybe try sauteing it with rice before steaming. However, with our salsa ranchera ready, here comes our extremely simple Huevos Rancheros. So typically this sauce is served warm, so you can have some ready in the microwave, or I made it soon enough so it just stayed warm when I was ready. But then for our tortillas, we're gonna set a pan over medium-high heat and add about 15 grams or a tablespoon of oil. Now, you have a decision to make here. Do you want the tortillas still malleable like traditional enchiladas, or crisp like a tostada? Diana Kennedy uses the former in her book, while the latter is used, for example, in De Mi Rancho a Tu Cocina's version, and both taste really great, but I made one of each so I could decide which one I like better in the taste test. Also, for a lower calorie substitution, you could try spritzing the tortillas with some spray and then tossing that under the broiler until they're nice and crispy, and that's going to eliminate that extra fat we use from all the oil in the pan. Now onto the eggs. So using that same pan we used to fry the tortillas turned to about medium-low, we're going to add another about tablespoon or 15 grams of oil and then slowly fry these sunny side up by basting the top with the oil until those whites have set, but that jiggly yolk is awaiting to create a sauce with our salsa ranchera. Again, for a lower calorie option here, a regularly poached egg works just beautifully. But anyway, once those normal eggs are fried up to perfection, we're going to assemble the Huevos Rancheros by first placing the tortilla down, follow that with the fried egg, and then hit it with the sauce. And you really want to only spread it over the whites, mainly just for presentation purposes, let that yolk kind of pop through. Then now you can hit it with whatever toppings you want, but I did some cotija cheese, some chopped cilantro, and of course a bit of acidity with some pickled onions. So 2 of these clock in at 477 calories, and I estimated that about 2/3 of the oil gets absorbed in the tortillas and the eggs. So for the low-cal version with no oil, you're probably going to save around 180 calories worth of that oil. And then last but not least, this breakfast is made complete with a serving of beans, which I first toasted some whole cumin seeds and garlic, then added the drained pintos, a big pinch of salt, and just partially mashed that and cooked that down. So good. This recipe will be linked too, but let's do our taste test and see if the crisp or malleable tortilla reigns supreme. All right, everybody, taste test time. I've got the completely fried one here on my left. I've got the softer tortilla on my right, and then we've got beans in the middle. We're gonna absolutely devour this thing. Best thing about the one that you do leave as kind of basically a tostada is you can eat it with your hands, so let's do that. All right, well, got a little overzealous there. Obviously, very good. Let's dive into this one. Kind of mix everything around with that yolk a little bit. So both obviously really good. I definitely do prefer the crunchy kind of tostada version. I mean, you can eat it with your hands and it's just like crunchy, a little bit more enjoyable. That being said, this version's really good too, obviously, because you kind of mix that yolk in with everything and it gets, I mean, it kind of reminds you of like an enchilada, like Diana Kennedy mentions in her book. And then outside of that, pickled onions, put them on there. We've got more of the salsa ranchera. If you need it, you can add it then. Keep the rest in your fridge. You've got breakfast in a moment's notice. Also, these beans, really basic, but so good. Like, we've actually finished basically all of them now, and it's been probably just a couple hours. We keep snacking on them, my brother and I. So you've got to make this dish. Such an easy Mexican breakfast. Once you have this salsa ranchera ready, you're good to go. So hopefully you guys have enjoyed. The recipe will be up on the website if you guys want to follow along. That's going to wrap it up for me in this one. This is the new kitchen going forward. Still working out lighting, audio, all that. So this might be a little echoey and things like that. But really looking forward to the time here. I'll catch you all in the next one. Peace, y'all.